pull it up on like that screen.
Hey.
Hey.
How's it going? And look, there's Quasimodo.
Hi.
Hi, Candy.
Oh no.
Yeah, I think I can print that or pull it up.
The scary girl tried to touch me. Yes, we had an incident yesterday. I tried to hold her and she was not a fan.
She went.
Yeah, she went literally ballistic. Yeah. No, you know I'm not too scary. Mm-mm. Okay. Oh. Yes, okay. There it is.
And if you want, I'll pull it right over on this one.
Perfect.
So we're just getting kind of set up here.
Yeah, getting situated. I liked a lot what this Reddit user, some of the things that they said. Tonight we're talking about...
Is that pretty good?
Yeah, that's perfect. The fear around deconstructing, which I think is a pretty legitimate thing that a lot of people deal with. So...
Yeah, definitely. So I was just getting this set up, so...
Go for it. We still got a little bit of time. Oh, Candy Girl.
There we go.
Trying to make friends with this animal. She's the only animal in the world that doesn't like me.
It's our new rescue poodle.
Yeah.
Well, poodle.
Yorkie, maybe? Yorkie?
And she's in a luxury bed on my lap.
I know, she's in a big fuzzy bed. She's very wary of me. Clearly something happened to this poor little girl, but we don't know what. She usually just barks at me, and then if I try to hold her, like, absolute nuclear meltdown.
She freaked.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to be back.
I know. We did it Tuesday last week because you had a trip.
Right. And so did you.
No, I didn't have a trip. Did I go somewhere?
I thought with your job. Nope.
No, I ended up not.
Me.
And so I just came over because I think you were packing and getting ready and stuff.
Oh,
the
that's
next
right.
Day. I had something going on. I don't remember what.
Oh, yeah. You need a breath mint, dog.
Is it me?
No.
It could be me.
I'll take that out of my water, though.
Sure.
Just in case. I can at least bury my face in this cup of water.
It's not quite as bad as Gruber's. We were trying to set up so that I could be home and call in for the live stream, but the technology failed us.
It failed us. So I don't know if we're loud enough because...
I don't know how to...
I'm a little ways away from the mic, so probably just be sure to talk loud.
Project.
Because...
We are a little quiet on some of the live streams. So if you're in the chat, if anyone's in there and you want to let us know how the volume is, feel free.
Yeah, that's like maxed up.
Okay, maybe we're blowing everyone's eardrums out.
No, I bet it's not.
Yeah.
I bet it's not because usually when it's hitting that, at least yellow is where you want to be.
Oh, okay.
See, you go. But you got to be sure to talk that loud.
Okay. I can jump up pretty loud.
Yeah, so I have a 2-foot separation here from the dog.
Oh.
You can't see her, but she's right down there.
Yeah, so sweet. Oh, no, okay.
We're still trying to get her acclimated to...
Especially me. I feel like she likes my boyfriend, she likes everyone else in the family, but she does not like me. So if you have any tips out there, if you're a dog enthusiast or dog trainer, throw them in the chat. How do you make a shy, scared dog like you? I thought I knew, so I was trying to apply my knowledge, but it has kind of done the opposite and not worked. The other thing we want to say is if you've got questions or comments about anything, we love chat engagement. So even if it's not pertaining to our subject, feel free. Throw it out there.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll just read it. Maybe we'll just get around to it. Who knows?
Wow, she's spicy.
I am.
Well, yeah, it's like kind of a weird day out. It's like 60-something, wind blowy, cool, a little rainy maybe. And then it's supposed to be 80s. This weekend.
I'm so excited. Are you? Because you don't like the heat as much. Yeah.
But I did go to the dentist today and got a very rousing...
Uh-oh.
What is it? What is it called when they give you the...
Probe?
No, they checked everything and it was all good.
Inspection?
What did I go? A checkup. I went in for my checkup and everything was good.
Yay! So. No cavities.
No cavities.
That's always a plus.
Yeah, I was pretty excited. I told Mom, I said, yeah, I'll come back. I'll need like 2 crowns, root canal, 4 cavities, because they always seem to find something, but not
It's
this
like
time.
when you take your car in just for an oil change and it needs like new whatever engine.
I have healthy gums.
Oh, that's awesome.
So,
I need to go.
Anyway, yeah, I had to go back since I got interrupted with the last year's health things. Excuse me.
Oh, gotta take care of those teeth. They say that's pretty important.
Yeah, you gotta eat.
This is our dentist plug. Yeah.
Go get your checkup. So we're gonna talk today about
fear around deconstruction.
Yeah, like just why is there fear around when you're considering asking those questions about your faith, your long-held beliefs? Is it fear-inducing? And when you think about where it could lead, what could happen, what could family think, where could this all end up if you like follow some of these questions you're having, and what if it changes the thing? People are really hesitant to change, so there's a lot of fear involved.
Yeah.
Loss of community.
Yeah.
Status.
I'm pretty sure some people have unfriended me since coming out with this, like on Facebook, not like, but still, I think that was like the first thing I was going to ask you is, did you have fear around deconstructing?
I just saw all of a sudden, did you see that spike up?
Yeah, I did.
So I don't know what would make something do that.
I don't either.
But I bet it's this. Go see where that says volume. Like I think it's F1.
Yes.
If you just hit that, is that raising that volume up? Because I think that's talking about my desktop mic.
I don't see it doing anything. Or F3 actually. Oh, I muted it. F3 muted something.
Okay, well that's.
Oh, there. That's raising that.
Oh, but that's the raising on the screen. Something really popped that up for a second. Anyway, okay, so yeah, I did have fear.
Yeah.
I think it's what kept me from looking at some of the things I'd always thought and digging in too far is what maybe not even on a conscious level, maybe it's subconscious, but like, yeah, you don't want to dig in too far because where could these things lead, and what would happen if I didn't believe these things anymore? It was so foundational in my life, so absolutely.
Okay. I think so. A lot of mine was it was weird because it just kind of made sense to me as it started to unravel. So I was like, I'm okay with some of that. With even like the long-term consequences, I definitely had some of the fear of hell. But that was more early on when I first started looking into things. Later on, it became like a fear of hurting other people. Like if they saw what I actually thought, that it was going to hurt their faith or like hurt their deeply held beliefs. And I definitely did not want to hurt anyone in that way. And I've never cared like too much what people have thought of me. And I knew that if I came out as having deconstructed, that it would definitely change people's opinions, and it has, and some people have definitely let me know. And I do feel like that I'm human. It bothered me a little bit because I don't want to alienate people or whatever, but I kind of came to terms with like, well, if just me having a different opinion and changing my mind and believing what I believe like shakes them to the core, that maybe it needs to, or like I would think that that's incumbent on the other person then to then bolster their own belief rather than it being based on what other people think. It certainly was for me, because I've had a lot of people try to argue with me since coming out as deconstructed, and it doesn't like offend me unless they're super rude about it or like change my mind. So I guess that's kind of gotten better. It's more just like I don't want to hurt people's feelings if they're going through a hard time and they say, oh, Jess doesn't even believe in God anymore, kind of a thing. But I can't really control that. So
yeah, and that's pretty legit. And I think I was the same thing. Like, gosh, I didn't want certain people to know because, you know, what their beliefs are and what would they think about the afterlife then. And
yeah, exactly.
they have loved ones. And what I came to realize is no one cares like what
What
I
you think, right?
In same way as
Yeah.
I do care and listen, but I had to think through these things for myself. And when I did, someone else isn't really going to convince me just by saying something. It's not going to, I don't think it really works that way. The same way if someone's like I was, is right in the middle of it as a devout believer and everything, it's more you go into defend mode and it kind of like strengthens your faith. Like, you come up with all the reasons why there's something wrong with me and what must I really be? Was I ever a Christian? All those kind of things. I think that's typically where people go instead of like, oh no, they're undermining my faith. I don't think it typically goes that way. Unless someone's already thinking that way or has those questions, then it could lead them that way. But that's what everybody does in life is forms opinions and thoughts based on what they read, study, hear, examine, and we all come up with our own understandings. That's just how it works.
And evaluate and reevaluate. And some people just deconstruct and come away with a different view of their religion or belief. And maybe it's just not as dogmatic. It doesn't even mean like you completely are an atheist or anything like that. But I think those are more of where my fears were. And this is really specific. But I felt like once people knew that I wasn't religious or didn't believe in the Bible as just all being true, or really believe in God, especially Bible God, I thought when I offered comfort to people going through hard times, I wondered if it didn't mean as much, because they're like, I wouldn't say I'm praying for you. I would say, hey, I'm thinking about you. Do you need anything? And I just wondered if it like sounded hollow to people if I was reaching out to them, because it's like, well, what do you even have faith in me? Or I don't know. To me, it didn't.
That's like, I can see that. Yeah, it does. It makes when in reality, like to me, it got to where when people are praying for me, I'm always thinking like, I don't know if that does anything, and that's the easiest thing in the world to say to somebody. I mean, I appreciate it, but when I was going through a really tough time, had a couple family members go together and put some money towards some outdoor furniture for our side porch, because they thought, like, as I was going through that, it'd be nice if I could sit out there, or they knew we were looking at doing that and they said they wanted to give us some money towards that. It was like, wow, talking about meaningful, like there's somebody really doing something, or my sister made a basket of stuff specific to what I was going through and dropped it off, and it was like, you can, like saying prayer, you're gonna pray for someone, great, but I never really thought it did anything.
I know.
You had about 50-50 chance of it either being yes, no, or not now, so you never knew anyway, and like...
No, I know exactly what you're saying. Like, it's funny because I feel like that's the thing that I should say, because it's what you're trained to say when you grow up super religious, and I've retrained myself inside to say, do you need anything, or what can I do, or something like that.
And I think even when people are, when I know they're the type of person that really probably is praying for me, it's just when, I don't know if that ever felt as meaningful, because early on, I started having so many questions about prayer, and the Bible teaches so many contradictory things about it, and it's like, depending on what denomination you're in, who's teaching you, there's all these different, if you claim it and use, the name of Jesus, and there's all these certain things that's going to happen, if you say that mountain and have the smallest amount of faith. And others are like, no, real true faith is when you ask and God says no and you believe anyway. So that's the good part about prayer. It's like, it's all just like, I don't think anything happens because I don't think anyone's listening.
It's also like, well, money or like your time or people sitting with you through a hard time is actually a tangible thing that makes a difference, and you don't have to wonder, is God choosing to just ignore this one? Or
when that last year or so I was on staff at a church, and as a care pastor I went and learned this Stephen ministry is what it's called. It's like an international ministry in churches, but and then I was going to revamp it so it fit the culture of our church. But the whole gist of it was you find people who are empathetic listeners and you match them up with people that are going through tough times. And I mean, that was a big part of the training was you're not there to solve anything. You're not there to pray for them. If someone asks you, sure, and we put some parameters around that. But really the key is being there, just being present, some listening, of course, and then if they're not talking, just being with someone through a crisis is a big deal, and it's a big part of the healing process because we don't have answers. You know, and a lot of times in the midst of those hard times when people are right in the middle of it, there isn't any words or something, you know, stuff like that. So
no, I think tangible stuff, even.
So I think I'm saying even now, not believing in prayer, I felt some of that, like, what do I have to offer, you know, me and my time and my income, you know, things you can help, you know, send gift cards if someone's going through a hard time or a good time or whatever, like just to help with me, whatever. So there's a lot you can still do, and I actually find it really meaningful when someone does something like that.
I do too. I have a really good friend who I feel like I'm going to borrow this from her, but anytime I'm going through anything, she will text me if she knows what's going on, and instead of even being like, hey, do you need anything? Because most people will say, no, I'm okay. She'll go something really specific, like, hey, do you want to go for a walk and just talk about things? Or do you want to go to a coffee shop with me? Or, hey, she'll like bring up actual things. Or, hey, can I send you over a dinner or something like that? So she'll actually suggest like real tangible things that she knows would be helpful. And then most of the time she'll just do it. Even if I'm like, no, I had a migraine once, and she's like, hey, I'm dropping off a headache wrap for you. It's at the front door. You don't have to interact with me because I know how it is to have a migraine. And she left that and a little stuffed animal, and that was it. And it was just like, it was so meaningful and so cool. But she'll just actually like think of stuff, suggest it, do it. It's very cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I think the fear when you're going through thinking about some of the things that people are deconstructing, like, you know, is the Bible really God's inerrant word of God? Or is God all loving when he does these kind of things that you read about in the Bible, or Jesus when he does the things he did? Is this idea like really a legit good idea? Like, what creator would set up this dynamic for two people who did not have the knowledge of good and evil, because we know they did not have it, and after they ate the fruit they did have the knowledge of good and evil, so they didn't even know. And even if they did know and they made a mistake, like, who in the world would punish them with death? And everybody thereafter, death, suffering, pain, like, those are some of the early things I really started questioning, like, wait, I was just always told that and taught that, but like, what? And like, that's a good, loving, kind God. Like, no father, like, you know, you take away let's say, okay, they did understand and they really disobeyed. Well, so what? Like, I've got children disobey all the time. Sorry, but if they did, what do you do? Like, you're going to punish them and every other child that will ever come after them for this horrible disobedience, and if they don't somehow turn and decide and believe in you, even though they've never seen you or heard from you, you'll set them on fire for eternity. Like, it was those kind of things that I really started questioning, but it was amazing the fear that would come up internally as I would even think about that. It's like, oh, I'm going to get it now. Like, dude, who am I? And I started to see, like, that's baked into the whole system, so you don't question it.
It's smart,
like,
because
it's really, like, not healthy.
Well, especially phrases. That's something I wrote down that I thought was really interesting, because I was researching what different people said about fear around deconstruction, and that idea of, like, what if this is letting the devil get a foothold? just because you're doing some research. And there's nothing in the world that if you're basing your entire life around a concept that I would say, but don't research the opposition, because what if you find out something bad? Like, that's crazy. That's really crazy and harmful. And not to say somebody might do all that research and come away with their own perception, that's fine, but just to fault people for even wanting to look at facts and to prove that, hey, if I'm going to follow this to the letter, I better be sure that it's accurate and that it's historically accurate. But I remember that fear when my best friend was like, hey, I want to show you this video that talks about a lot of stuff in the Bible that's not historically proven, but that's taught as fact in churches. I was terrified to watch it because I thought, well, what if I watch it and I accidentally think something against God and then I get myself banned out of heaven forever? That's literally what I was thinking. But I also thought, I'm like in my early 30s. This was a while ago, but I was thinking, I should be able to logically think, hey, if there really is this all-powerful, all-knowledgeable being, he would understand someone wanting to look at unfortunately, that evidence was very compelling, and it was like, ew, okay. Like a lot of biblical scholars, who had actually studied like the ancient Hebrew and Greek were like, this never happened. Like the historians were saying that there's no evidence that this stuff ever happened. And so that was very compelling, but the fear of not even wanting to, I mean, you wouldn't even do that. I wouldn't think like politically, like if I'm thinking of voting for someone, I'm going to do a lot of research and see, hey, what are like the actual facts, if you can find them, what are things that they've said. And you sure shouldn't be condemned for ever wanting to do research on something.
I know. Yeah, I agree. I remember watching that LDS, Latter-day Saints, and it's the fundamentalist ones, and the one Warren Jeffs is, I think it's just one very small sect of fundamentalist Mormons. I'm not saying this is all of them by any stretch, but it's a fundamental sect, and he was marrying like minors. And then he's put in prison. So that's what this new Netflix documentary is. And he is this skeevy guy, and he like gets he says he's the next prophet. And what was striking about it, and this is like, whether all of that's even made up, or I don't know how accurate it all is. And I know Netflix, they do things with their point of view, so maybe it's all wrong. But what they did find out is that he was marrying young girls, like, and having sex with them. And what struck me is when the police came to like arrest or take them away to separate them from this guy because he was going to prison, how like vehement they were against the police. And like, I'm thinking all of us from the outside are looking at this and going like, God, they are so brainwashed, they can't even see. These police are the ones that are coming to help them, but they had been so brainwashed that the devil, this is how he would do it. The world's just going to get you, and they're going to tell you these things, and they're going to tear us apart. And they believed it, like, and that's somehow, in some ways, how I felt like I was seeing these facts, these truthful things, but there was a part of me that's like, oh, this is just the world trying to, I wonder where these lies and deceit is all coming from. And I found out, gosh, it wasn't lies and deceits. It's information anyone can find, if you want, just look into all that and just make a decision yourself about the historicity of the Bible, the inerrancy, how it was formed, how the canon was picked, all that stuff. Like, dude, it's not what we're taught, and you can see it was just definitely a man-made religion.
But the fear that something's going to happen to you, or it's so smart teaching that you'll be corrupted if you even entertain those thoughts, because it keeps people stuck in that, even if you have questions or doubts that are completely normal and human. It's really smart to have it set up as like, oh, but if you have questions or think those thoughts, then the devil's got a foothold. And Well, God created the devil, first of all, so I mean,
Yeah.
that's a lot to unpack.
But there's other parts where you're supposed to be like able to reason, and like you're given, you could seek wisdom and find it. Well, what if the wisdom is like that you find is like, oh, this is doesn't make sense, or is contradictory, or this is written by men. It's like, I guess it's assumed the wisdom is always going to be, you're going to agree with everything. And
I think so. I think that's exactly. I mean, that's what you're told.
Not,
yeah.
And then if not, there's something wrong with you, and that's the fear that's put in, which is really manipulative. The whole thing is like, I listen to conversations on streams, an atheist talking to a believer, and they're having these conversations and trying to, they're going back and forth with their information. I can't tell you how many times, if it ends with where it's just contradictions that are placed out there and there's no way around it. It's a lot of times the Christian will be like, well, you'll see at the judgment, just wait. And it's like, that's the last thing they have to offer is the fear, the threat of, so that's what's driving all this. Like, you'll see, like, the threat. If you happen to think differently, or this doesn't make sense and you can't believe it because it just doesn't make sense, well, you'll see, and you're gonna get it. And some people say that with, some Christians say that with like kind of like empathy. Others are like, yeah,
screw you, man. Yeah.
And it's like,
anything that's fear-based is not good. That's what I was talking to somebody about not that long ago, and they were kind of defending just religion as a whole. There's parts of it that are okay, but anything that's fear-based is not a good thing. Fear-based is control-based. And so anytime people are throwing out, well, you'll see, or, well, do you want to burn forever? You can't reconcile a God burning people alive forever with him being a loving God. The two things cannot exist.
Or just being eternally separated, or, you know, and I think we see so much of that now, like, that people get it, and particularly a younger generation, so they're trying to soft pedal that, to where it's now it's separation from God. But if God is all good and all just, and then you're separated from everything good, well, it's still
gonna be bad.
That sucks. Why? Because you couldn't believe somebody you couldn't see, and it's a pretty weak story that has all kinds of holes in the plot line and in the manuscripts and all that, and it's hard for a person to believe that. You would just be separated from everything good in life. Like, that's really odd. I wouldn't do that to someone. If I would get them the evidence.
Yeah, exactly. That's just it.
And it's not even that. I would be real simple. I'd be like, if they were doubting the existence of someone that I was saying was true, I would show them that person.
Right.
And it would all be settled. Like, that's the problem. You can't, no one produces Jesus or God. It's feelings and emotions, but different religions all have the same feelings or similar feelings, and they can't all be true. There's just a lot of problems. But, like, say any of that, and it's like, oh, you're getting it. You're going to get it. And I used to feel that, like, really fearful. I don't anymore, because I just have even looked more and more into it, and I just can't, like, gosh, it's like now getting harder and harder to understand, like, how did I see that and not really follow through on those questions? I mean, I would ask them, but a lot of times I would be pushed down. Like, when I went to Bible college and stuff, I mean, I was made to feel stupid and ridiculous for thinking these things, when you just learn later. It's like a lot of people, like, since the beginning of all this, have questioned and thought, had these same thoughts. So
did you ever consider maybe you just didn't have your spiritual lenses on?
Yeah, it's like, even it's just
I like this one Reddit user. Their name is Haunted Fried Egg. And what I typed in was what's the fears people have around deconstructing? And this user said they've deconstructed, and they said, some biblical teachings are deeply ingrained in my psyche, and some would say these are just fear tactics. But for me, they will haunt me and make me afraid to ever leave. So here's some of the concepts that they said were hard to shake. And some of these, even this user says they're not like exact biblical quotes, but I think a lot of people will be familiar with these concepts, is that you've shipwrecked your faith and you've seared your consciousness. Like, it's your conscience. Yeah. like Jiminy the cricket, or Timothy the cricket.
Yeah, it's the
Your
same way.
conscience.
Like
Yeah.
you become hard-hearted, and your heart's no longer tender or sensitive
Yes.
to the spirit, and it's.
But listen to the way that he phrased this, or they phrased it, I don't know. They said, this is referring to those who turn away from the faith or start to sin and get used to sinning. And I thought that was such a good way of phrasing that is how it's presented, as you do a little bit of something and then it's not that you've used your logical mind and changed your mind about something, and you can't force yourself to believe in something you don't believe in. It's that, oh, you've seared your conscience off and you've gotten used to sinning, and now you don't even know what's right and wrong anymore. That's literally what's taught in a lot of churches, and I liked the way that they phrased that a lot. They said, sometimes it doesn't feel like I destroyed my faith. Other times I think, they said sometimes it does feel like I destroyed my faith. Other times I think, no, I didn't ask for this. I was simply using my critical thinking and the Bible shattered. I think that's really relatable for both of us. Neither of us set out to deconstruct or turn our backs on God, as a lot of people have said to me in comments on Facebook. But it wasn't that at all. It was exactly what this user said, just using critical thinking and logic, and it kind of just broke the Bible.
Yeah.
For me, at least. Another one that this user said that they get that freaks them out is, who caused you to sin? And I don't know if I really got that very much. Maybe. I think when I had boyfriends when I was like 17, and a boyfriend in youth group, then I was spending time with him and I got a job, and so I wasn't going to youth group as much. And I remember people saying, like,
classic recipe.
Yeah, they were like, wow, you've really, not like, oh, you're 17 and these are normal things that people do, but it was like, oh, this is leading you down a bad path, where they would say that, like, you used to be so involved in the church and now you have a job. Yeah, exactly.
I just want to know what was true.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I just want to know what was true as well as I could, and I don't know how the heck there's anything wrong with that. And by the same way, I'm like, if you are the God of, if this was just all so crystal clear, the truth ought to be so evident. Yeah. Like, why are we even having this discussion? The opposite's true. As I started looking into it, it's like, oh gosh, there's more problems with all this, and contradictions and holes and stuff like that than it all being clear. Like, this is just, oh, okay, now I get it. That's what I was hoping for when I started.
Yeah, and that's what people say that you'll find.
And then, to have the opposite happen, I don't know what to say. Like, I didn't try to do that. It was to strengthen my faith.
The other thing that they said was, the do not love the world sentiment. And they felt like, or one question they had was, did the devil find my weakness and use it to deceive me out of believing in God? We kind of talked about that a little bit already, but I think that concept of even like being afraid of the world is so damaging. And I remember that like when I was probably 14 or 15 and I was in theater at a local high school, but not a Christian high school. And I had that fear of, I can't get too close to people who aren't believers or who are of the world, because then I'm going to get corrupted and turn away from God. Which sucks, because then it really puts up boundaries between really human connections. But it kind of makes you afraid of people who are in the world.
Mine all happened, a big part of it that led me right up to really saying, okay, I've got to figure this out, because this is not, I just have not seen this, was being on staff for 3 years at a church. So it wasn't the world. I was around people, and it wasn't negative things that happened. I was on staff at a church, and it wasn't a big hurt or anything like that. I left. I put in my resignation. No one asked me to. As far as I know, I was doing a great job, and people really liked me being there and what I did. But it was me being around that and seeing so much of the inconsistency. And it's not the inconsistency of hypocrites. It's just everything that was talked about. I'm like, dude, I just saw it day after day after day after day. This is all about a God that everybody's gathering to worship, gathering to praise. He's never there. And he's not there. He's not answering people. He's not people aren't hearing from him. I mean, and the ones that were, it was always pretty suspect, you know, or like
It
you
did
hear
go
some
that way.
really, yeah, a certain kind was always hearing from him. I'm like, yeah, okay. And the answers, you know, some people were getting, it just wouldn't, it would not be, it certainly would be, a loving God would not be you know, just arbitrarily handing out very generous healings to some and letting horrible things happen to others with no explanation, and you just gotta figure it all out. And that's what, like, again, it's the picture of the loving father. Well, that is not a loving father. That is the opposite picture of a loving father. And that's just common sense.
Well, not only that,
Like,
but
if I did that to my two kids, and it would make you guys crazy.
Yeah.
And it would like really mess with your minds, and it'd create all kinds of problems if if I was absent, and you were calling out to me, and sometimes I answered you, sometimes I didn't, sometimes I ignored you for years, and sometimes.
But then you were always like, well, but you better love me unconditionally no matter how I act toward you.
It doesn't make sense.
No,
it
that
doesn't make sense at all. And then there's enough Bible, though. That's the thing, that you can make the opposite side. Well, God never promised you that. It's, in this world you have problems, but take heart, I've overcome the world. But then you're not hearing that necessarily often. It's supposed to be like God, what is Philippians 4, 6, and 7? Do not be anxious about anything, and everything with prayer and petition, thanksgiving, present your heart to God. Peace of God that transcends all understanding will guard your heart and your mind. So on one hand, there's verses that say, anytime, like, man, I do this little prescription, which obviously that's not what it's saying, but it's taught that it is, that I'm going to get the peace of God. That's always, well, that didn't happen to all kinds of people, all kinds of time.
Yeah.
And then, so it's just, you can make it say whatever you want.
Well, because doesn't it say at some point, too, it's kind of like saying the opposite, where, I forget what the first part of the verse is, but then it says something like, what kind of a father, what kind of father, if their son asks for a fish, gives him a snake or something? I would love that personally. I love snakes. That would be better than a fish. But like, they're basically saying God gives good things, but
how much more your heavenly Father would give good gifts? And
yes, if you ask him. But
and I get it. Like, that's the, and then you hear the explanations for that. Well, yeah, we don't know the heart of God. We don't know the will of God. That's not a perfect father, like, that you don't know anything about, and you have to guess. That's horrible, especially when it's life and death, eternity hanging in the balance of all this, and you just gotta guess. Like, well, I guess because he calls himself good, no matter what I see or done or not done, or read about what he did or didn't do, because he calls himself good. That's my definition of good now.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it even gets you question your very own instincts. Like, well, what's my morality? You don't have any morality without God. Well, of course, everybody does. Everybody looks around, sees the world, and makes judgment calls based on what they've learned and experienced. And is it subjective? Heck yeah.
Yeah.
That's what everybody does. Even if you're a Christian, you're subjectively saying, I believe God's commands are the best ones. I'm, as a human subject making that decision. So everybody does it, but it gets you to even doubting your own, like, judgment and stuff, like, what is good and what is a good father? How would you know what one is? And
even stuff that's pretty black and white, like exactly what you're saying. And I know people will make the argument of, well, he already showed his love for you by giving you the ultimate sacrifice, and then he created the entire world, and he created, this planet being in perfect harmony with the sun. And I'm like, the sun literally gives you skin cancer. So and then the argument to that is, well, God didn't want that. It's because of sin. And so sin got brought into the world, so that's not God's fault. It's like, well, he can't control that the sun gives people melanoma.
Adam and Eve didn't make that happen.
No, that's bizarre.
Or is there some kind of, like, weird default, like, sin day plan that once that happened, it just all went into effect and everything? Well, who would have made all of that?
Who did that?
If that did happen, that wasn't Adam and Eve setting that up. They might have triggered it if someone set it up to be triggered. But wow, that's a little overreaction. Like, I've seen parents overreact with their small children, like smacking them or yelling at them, and I'm like, well, that kid doesn't even know. You know, that's kind of equal, like, to Adam and Eve. And you know, people will say, well, they weren't children or toddlers. Hey, they were naked and didn't even know. I mean,
they literally didn't know right from wrong.
Whatever happened and came into the world after eating it was good and bad, and that's, the Bible says, now they're like us, having the knowledge of good and evil. Means they did not have the knowledge of good and evil before that.
No,
they did not know disobedience, or if it was consequence, or dying. What's dying? They didn't know. If you do this, you'll die. Well, what? Wait, what? What's that? How? It's this horrible thing. Well, we don't know good and evil. How can we understand what a horrible thing is? Like, it's just doesn't make sense. And I think, like, I know, I'm like, if there is some kind of God like that, well, he might be looking for people that are thinking like me, and like, oh yeah, you didn't buy all that, did you?
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah,
it's like,
that's a good point.
Well, how would you know? Like, really, that is the one and only God that everybody, and he's looking for people that are just going to follow that and believe in that whole story, because it is just, as far as we know, well, it is a story.
Yeah. Well, and the funny part is, isn't there multiple different gods, like, throughout the Old Testament too? I forget who I was listening to talking about that. Some Bible scholar. There's not like one consistent God through the entire Old Testament, because they didn't believe in one. They believed that there were like multiple different ones.
Yeah, I think so. Like, the other gods were actually, they were like warring to see who would become the god.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a real development to all of that you can see in the ancient world, and yeah, if that's your thing, you can go look into all of that. I'm not like super.
No, I just didn't know that, because that's never how it was presented. No. It was always presented as like,
yeah, there really was just this one God that spoke all this.
Yeah.
The other gods were equal. It was, they were worshiping their gods the same way the Hebrews were worshiping theirs. It's just theirs won out, you know, with the history with the Bible. It lasted there.
The other funny thing, like, too, talking about the fear of deconstruction is...
And I was just saying, like, that lasting, like, that is not a demonstration of anything other than a religion lasting or having more appeal, or for whatever reason caught on. Like, it does, because it says that somewhere in Acts, and I remember apologists used to say that. So, like, you know, don't stop them, because if this is of God, nothing can stop them, and if it's not, it won't become anything. Well, that's not true, because other things that Christians would say definitely are not of God have blown up and have hundreds and thousands and millions of followers.
Tons of
that
stuff.
Doesn't make
Did you know 98% of people who get into the multi-level marketing schemes lose money? 98%. 2% make money. Multi-level marketing schemes continue to go on and thrive. So just because something continues does not mean that it's right or that it's good.
Yeah.
Or that it's just, or like exactly what you're saying. Tons of other religions exist out there. That does not mean that. Well, that just automatically means that it's true.
And I can relate to that person that you have that thread.
Yeah.
Because even as we're talking about this, I mean, it doesn't impact me the way it used to, but there's little
twinges,
constant little things. Oh boy.
Yeah.
What if you're wrong? Well, he's a loving God. I'd try my best. So I think he'd have mercy and justice. I could say that as well as anything else that's said about the Bible.
Yeah.
Because you can pretty much, I guess if that's what you think, it's true. I don't know how it all works.
I don't either. I know.
Because different people think different things in the Bible are true, and it makes it true for all of them. Are they all wrong? Is it right?
You know, that's what is funny though, when you talk about, like, there's a fear of deconstruction, but there's also, like, in Christianity, so much of the Bible that actually wants you to fear God and have a fear of God, which is also a bizarre concept. Because would you ever want, like, your kids to be afraid of you or have a fear of you?
No.
I think that's so bizarre. But that never occurred to me because it was like,
But there are people, and I think it comes from that
I
or
just,
something.
I was
like,
going to bring this up. Yeah.
It's like they do think ultimately that's how you gain respect and followers and obedience.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, and it's like a point of pride.
I think you can get obedience through fear, but that's, I don't know much about a like healthy relationship.
Yeah.
That
No, the two I don't think can exist at the same time. In fact, I'm pretty darn sure. I want to talk about this that our Haunted Fried Egg user said was being freaked out by the concept of the wedding banquet and the doors being closed. So Judgment Day, when God warns his people that Judgment Day will be like a wedding banquet and only the righteous will make it to the feast, the others will knock at the door and ask to get in, but Jesus will turn them away, not even recognizing them. So I think just other verses that in the Bible that try to instill fear in people. That was that one that also was like, oh, you might think that you're really saved but you're not, like the sheep and the goats, like I never knew you kind of a thing? Or is this one talking about
some of those who call, I always think of the one like, you called me whatever, but I do not know you, depart from me, you wicked evildoer. Like, is that what you were talking about?
yeah, which is harsh.
I think the part that really helped me about a lot of this I really think if there was a actual person, Jesus, and I believe he believed and the followers believed he was coming back then.
Oh yeah.
Because of the like 3 or 4 places where he says, before I go through the villages, you will see the Son of Man come in the clouds to judge. So it can't be the transfiguration. It can't be all these other things. They were talking about judgment in their lifetime. And there's another point says, before this generation will not pass away. Some of you standing here will not die before the Son of Man. I think he really believed it, and that he was coming back then. And I think it was just another failed prophet that, like, there were a ton at that time. It was like apocryphal, not apoc.
Yeah, apocalyptic, right?
Apocalyptical.
Yeah.
Preachers, there was a lot of that happening at that time. They really thought it was imminent because of everything that was going on in their culture. I don't think it was ever thought that it would be us still looking at that today.
No, I don't think so. Well, because that's not what the text really reads. It's very much like they're thinking Jesus is coming back within their lifetime, because that's pretty much what the prediction was.
Or you've got to have like real faith that it meant something different than what he was just saying. And like, I don't know how you do that. I don't either. That's what got harder and harder with so many of those things I had problems with. Like, and when I say problems, I'm not like, I was never looking for the problems. When I accepted Christ and they told me this is God's book, man, I was like, I cannot wait to see what this says. And like, how did I not know this book was just here with all the answers to everything? And I'm reading through it. Okay, I have no clue like what this is talking about. And clarity of Jesus in the Old Testament never mentioned anywhere like about Jesus. And so that all came up very naturally. And out of like really good intention. I know I've said it 1,000 times.
Well, I think your mistake was actually reading the book and not just listening to sermons. Because if you read the book, you're like, oh, this contradicts a lot. And another thing that was helpful to me in my deconstruction that I did not know was how prevalent that resurrecting from the dead was in that culture. That was a thing that people did. I guess just like that was a thing in that time. Nero did it. And so that wasn't like that unusual to have stories of people coming back from the dead or faking their coming. So when I learned that, it was like, oh, okay, well, that makes a lot more. It's almost just taking the, like, well, what makes more sense? That someone actually died and came back from the dead, or that someone pretended like they did, or it was faked? I think
or it was even like, I think that's how, and you see it really clear, like with Joseph Smith and Mormonism. I mean, whether or not the guy was a huckster or not, or it was all, he was trying to just make a religion. I don't know, or maybe he really believed it. But man, just one person really believing or saying something can start a whole thing where millions and millions and millions of lives are impacted, and people believe with all of their heart and their lives that this is really God.
Yeah.
And really, like you can just see that. So you look in the New Testament, it was interesting for me to find out how when you start thinking about eyewitnesses of who was actually out there, to see it, there are none. There are none. And in the accounts we have that are retelling it all contradict. It's like, oh yeah, that's weird, And I remember in harmonizing the Gospels in that class, like they were looking for students who could come up with creative ways with explanations. Instead of like, I thought the professor was gonna say, here's the answer to why all these supposed contradictions. It wasn't. It was like, let's see, it could have been this, it could have been that, and this just makes common sense. And it's like, they're contradictions.
Wow.
Like it was just never, here's why, it was, here's why those contradictions are there. Same with all of them. Like,
oh, absolutely.
that's what apologists do.
That's interesting. So they were having students come up with their own creative reasons of why those things didn't contradict.
A big part of your grade was coming up with scenarios on how, and explanations of how those harmonizing the differences. Because I think, and I didn't realize at the time, I think they're like, this is going to make a good pastor, or this is going to make a good apologist or
probably
evangelist, if you've got the kind of mind and are able to do that kind of thing, to say, well, here, I mean, I know these words say the exact opposite things, like they went there and the stone was rolled away. The stone wasn't rolled away. She went when it was dark. The first people that got there was the sun was up. Like, just contradictions. Like, if you could come up and like be able to like come up with plausible explanations that you felt comfortable saying out loud and convincingly, this is gonna be good for you. Like,
exactly.
And I couldn't do it. I'm like, I did good in that class because I was able to do what they were asking, but I couldn't believe it. I'm like,
Well, I think that I would have so much less of a problem with it too if all of that wasn't couched in the Bible's inerrant. And then you're like the stone, and then you have two verses that are talking about the same event that say two completely different things.
Yeah.
Just be honest and say, hey, we don't know why these things don't match, but we believe this anyway. At least just be honest about it.
It's
exactly.
And it's like, we don't have evidence. No one has evidence. I mean, these writings, they're contradictory. They're not eyewitnesses. They're, we don't even know who wrote them.
Yeah.
It's just church tradition. We don't have any of the original copies. We just have fragments that show up later, and then we see those start to develop. The later copies we found, but we don't have anything. Like, no one has the first writing of Matthew. That's just no one ever has.
No.
So we don't even know. That's the thing.
That's
we
crazy.
treat it as if it's inerrant, and we don't even know if it says what the original person wrote,
or just fact.
You can't tell. Like, you cannot compare it.
There's not even evidence that Israelites were enslaved in Egypt, like when Moses led them out. That there was no archaeological findings of a crossover of Egyptian and Israel artifacts in any capacity, and there's a lot of speculation from historians, this is not me making this up, and scholars that say very well may not have been,
or like a whole lot smaller scale.
A lot. Well, they would have to, because what was the plot of land that they wandered around the desert for 40 years? But the amount of Israelites that were supposedly there, if you stretch them out end to end, just like holding hands, would have just crossed that, touching.
Oh yeah, it was 2.5 million people. So no evidence. I
guess God could have bamboozled them walking through, but
it's and I don't know what the difference is between someone hearing that and thinking about that and saying, that's really hard to believe.
Yeah.
As opposed to saying, it's a miracle, or God, I don't know what
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is. But if that's what God is after for your salvation, that's what's troubling,
Yeah,
because
to suspend belief.
and yeah, like that, you're better off if you're able to put aside common, I wouldn't say common sense, because I would of course be all common sense, but like ignore the facts.
Ignore if archaeologists and scientists and scholars are saying, yeah, there is no evidence that this happened, and we have findings from those times, and they're saying what's more likely is a lot of these groups of people had like origin stories, like Marvel superheroes, where they'd say, oh, we had this big escape from Egypt and crossed the Red Sea and all that happened, kind of justifying the slaughtering of, was it the Canaanites that was immediately after? I think it was
They were the ones that really got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was super normal in that time period, that these groups would have these kind of overblown supernatural origin stories. And so to me, I hear that and I'm like, okay, so then what makes more sense is that a Red Sea was split open by magic, or that this was like an origin story.
Yeah.
And so to me, now I think my big problem is when things are presented as fact, that when they're fact checked by scholars and historians, that there's not the evidence there, and then but it's presented as fact. And I would have zero problem with someone presenting it to me with anything and saying, I think my dog can read my mind. I'd be like, girl, same. But like, I don't care if you believe that. If you tell it to me as fact, and this is 100% happening, it's like, well, I'd like to see some evidence of that, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's the difference. But back to the fear-based stuff again, I think that's why that is so important. Such an important part of a lot of religions is you almost have to have the stick, like the fear-based stuff. If you turn away, it's because your heart was hard and now you've doomed yourself.
There's all these built-in things that are like, just don't even go there because you're in big trouble if you do. Like the biggest of all trouble.
The big trouble.
The biggest of big trouble.
Exactly.
It's like,
yeah. And I just think that's always troubling if it's got to be something that's fear-based. That's what I always go back to.
yeah.
I was just trying to see if there's anything else that this user said, since we have a little bit more time. I didn't see this. The concept of the women with the oil lamps. Some women failed to prepare their lamps in time and got left behind. Oh yeah, another warning to be prayed for Judgment Day. So it sounds like this user just struggling with a lot of those repetitive things that you're told a lot in Christianity, and they're just to freak you out.
Yeah.
Keep people in it.
Well, I think that last one is a big one. It's like, it quotes that proverb, I think, is a dog going back to his vomit, or I think Jesus says that too, is if you've been with God, you go and you turn away. It's like a dog returning to his vomit noise. But it's like I think the person there wrote to have known God, and I think that's the problem. I think, listen, this is all different if God is down at the Capitol building and you can go down there and God's always there. Like the whole God question is answered. That's one thing.
That absolutely.
And Jesus is sitting there beside, and we all know that. Like there is no debate about that. Anybody, anytime in the world knows there he is. This is a non-question. And then you know everything about him, and then you say, nah.
Yeah.
That's one thing. What he says, to have known God. That's not, if he's not real, no one has known him.
Yeah.
I had emotional experiences. I had manipulated emotional experitions, and I've seen those up front firsthand and know they were being manipulated or trying to manipulate. What I haven't seen without doubt or known without doubt is God and Jesus.
Yeah.
Same. I don't know that. Like I wouldn't be here because I wouldn't be an unbeliever. I would believe that they're real because I had seen and known them. And then that is all settled. Then if I choose, oh no, I really just want to go sin and I don't want anything to do with you. Yeah, I guess if you want to then burn me, I still wouldn't do that to anybody. I'd be like, hey, you don't like me or you don't want to follow me, cool. people are very different, go do your own thing. But I guess that's at least a little fair. But it's still that
kind
question.
of, but
That person, it's like, it's not that I really knew God or knew Jesus. I thought I had experienced him, but
that's it.
as I've just been, and it was all based on what I was taught. And that's the problem. So many people, myself included, did not read the book starting at the Old Testament, and you can't have the New Testament without the Old Testament, no matter what anyone says. You cannot do it, because so much of the New Testament refers to the Old Testament, and you can't, and it claims that they're the same God, so you can't separate them. But so few people, myself included, read the book and said, "Oh, this just all makes so much sense. Heck yeah, where do I sign up?" It's like you have an emotional experience of some kind in a church setting, and it's usually like they even say it, like, hey, when you go to share the gospel with people, if someone's in a crisis, that's the best time to share. Well, yeah, that's when people are most vulnerable to making decisions and being emotionally open to things and they maybe weren't. But you have that emotional experience, then you are then told you need to start reading the Bible. And now you make that experience you had, you make everything in the Bible fit into that experience of, oh, this loving Jesus gave me mercy. So everything in there now has to fit that experience, where it doesn't work if you do it the other way and say, oh, here's everything presented. Then finding that, like, I don't think that's how it ever happens. I mean, I'm sure it happens sometimes. And the times I do hear it, it's like, give people the Gospel of John. Don't give them the whole Bible. They even used to make just hand out Gospels of John for when you're witnessing, because you don't want, like, if you read it all, people are gonna have so many questions and stuff like that.
Imagine going into the Bible cold with no context.
You're not gonna get but if you can get that experience of the loving, forgiving graciousness of Christ first, and you have an experience related to that, you'll work really hard to fit everything else that's problematic into that experience.
That's a really good point. Oh yeah, absolutely. I think people do that in abusive relationships. That's exactly why people stay. That's exactly, like, it will start great. You'll have the honeymoon phase, especially if it's like a narcissist or something. They're love bombing you. Everything's great. And then when they start doing really shady stuff, you're, oh, but this can't be, because remember how great, and he rubbed my feet and bought me a car, and it started out really amazing. You'll make excuse for people. There's a lot of situations that kind of are actually similar to that now that I think about it, and that's experience based as well. So think about that. You can have warm, fuzzy, exhilarated, heightened serotonin feelings for a narcissistic, terrible person. It doesn't make those feelings not real. Like, your brain can make chemicals. You can be in love with the wrong person. Like, you can be in love with somebody and they're an a-hole. So just because you have that heightened, elevated experience doesn't mean that automatically means, well, I have to overlook all the weird stuff now in the Bible, like the God, commanding cannibalism is one of my personal favorites. Slavery. Those are like, well, but I had this experience. The same thing could be said for like
Jesus just casting half the people, you're in, you're out. Like,
that's a tough one.
Instead of like, dude, I don't see it. Like, you, especially if you're all sinners and you're made sinners, like, so you're prone to sin, you have no good in you.
Kind of sounds like you're set up.
You're like Paul, like, I know what I want to do, but I can't do it. Oh, what a wretch I am. Who can help me? Oh, but thanks be to Jesus and the Holy Spirit. But if you didn't get the Holy Spirit to really make that transition in you, or have that scene experience, or whatever it is that really made you have faith for your whole life, you're just doomed. And God's doing it all, so it's not even like it's not even like I'm responsible in a lot of ways. And that, I know that's just couldn't be a loving, fair father. So
absolutely not.
But this is a fear factor.
That would be a cute thing to name it. Fear factor. Religion. The religious cut.
But hopefully that is
I should have eaten a spider or something.
Right.
I know, and we love.
Look, our dog stayed next to you. She overcame her fear.
Oh, I think she's curled her lip. She wants to bite me.
No.
We're so nice. Sorry, my dog voice is gonna come out real. Speaking of dogs eating their vomit, my dog threw up twice today. He's got a bellyache.
And now we'll let you go to dinner.
Enjoy your meal tonight, folks.
Okay, well,
until next week.
Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.